Hi, welcome to this video. I wanted to share with you the new growth that I've been getting from my plants in the first few months of plant parenthood. But before we get right into it, who's your daddy? Plant daddy! Thanks for tuning in, and if this is your first time on my channel, welcome. I'm really excited about this video because I'm new to plant parenthood, and I wanted to share with you the small little wins or success and progress that I've been getting with my plants in the first few months of starting my collection. And the reason why I got into houseplants was because I work at home and I was looking for ways to make my space more inspiring, more green. And through the research of learning more about plants, I learned that plants can actually help increase productivity of up to 15%. So once I learned that, I was sold. I wanted to get more plants for my space, but have a good amount to make my place look nice, but not overwhelming where it's out of control and hard for me to manage the amount and take care of the number of plants that I have in my space. So I'm really mindful of every time I add a new plant to my collection about whether I can take care of it or not, or do I have the right living conditions for the plant that I'm about to bring into my home. But I wanted to share with you the progress that I've been making with the plants that I currently have. So let's go ahead and start with the first plant that I wanted to share with you, which is my Alocasia. And I mentioned in one of my previous videos that I got this plant as a housewarming gift. I recently moved to New York from Chicago several months ago. And as a housewarming gift, this plant was gifted to me. And this, at first, when I first got this plant, I actually didn't know what this plant was, and I didn't know the lighting requirements. I had to use an app to ID the plant, and once I figured everything out about this plant and where to put it, I have it in a nice spot in my apartment under a grow light, and it's been doing really well so far. So since I learned more about this plant, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 5, I would say, give or take, new leaves that have grown on this plant. And if you could see how nice the leaves are, the newer, this is the newer leaf here, and these are the older leaves here. But let me show you a close-up in my plant cam. If you could see this here, right here, this is the new leaf. It's curled up, and then as it's gonna grow and bloom or blossom, I'm not sure if that's the right term, but it's gonna open up and it's gonna look like one of these down here. But it's nice to see how this is forming here in my right here. Now, I do mist this plant in the morning. This is one of the plants that likes moisture, so I do mist this plant in the morning, and I make sure that the moisture is just right in the soil, so I'm not over watering it. So I'm really happy with the Alocasia. The second plant that I got that I added to my collection was this Bella palm. Now, I have this palm sitting in a south-facing window, and this requires this likes the light that it's the space that it's in the window that it's in, and it's been growing really bushy since I got it, and it's actually sprouted up so much that I actually had to clip some of the stems, and I'm going to do some propagations because this has been growing pretty fast in the window that I have it in. And I have this plant sitting on my desk, which is right behind my computer. Actually, I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but I put it in that window right over there. And it's nice that I can look at this plant in the morning when I'm working, when I'm taking a quick screen break away from, to give my eyes a rest from my screen. It's nice to see this plant right behind my laptop. So this plant has been doing really well. As you can see, some of the newer growth has like a lighter, this is like a lighter green here, and then the more mature leaves are darker. Now this plant shoots up like a straight stalk, and then all of a sudden the leaves open up. And let me show you a close-up in the plant cam here. So if you could see this right here, this is the newer growth here that just opened up here. And then let me see if I can find any stalks that are shooting up. Oh yeah, on this side here. Let me see if I can show you. Where did that stalk go? Oh, it was just right here. I just had it. Let's see. Where did it go? Where did this go? Oh, this is a newer one. This one, there was one that was a little bit more closed up, about to open, but this one is about getting ready to, actually I don't know if you can see that there. This one right here, this one's getting ready to open up more. So I'm really happy with this Bella Palm. This has been a nice starter plant for me in the beginnings of my houseplant care journey. The next plant I want to share with you is my money tree. Now, I put this money tree on my desk for good luck because that's where I work, and I just wanted to make sure that I have good luck on my with work and stuff. So that's why I put the money tree on my desk. But I just noticed this maybe about 4 days ago that it's actually sprouting some leaves on the side of the plant here. But let me show you a close-up of this plant as well in the plant cam. Let's turn to the side over here. If you could see, let me try to focus that on that leaf. I'll bring it close. You could see the growth blooming there on the side of the money tree. Look how nice that is. And then look at these leaves here. These leaves are doing pretty well so far. I'm really happy with this money tree. But so that's one of my other favorite plants. The next plant I wanted to share with you that has been doing well, this one kind of started to grow more leaves. This is the Peperomia stilt. Now when I first got this plant, this is the first Peperomia I got. I almost killed this plant on accident, and the reason why is because I think I had it too close to a humidifier, and the humidity on the leaves just made one stem that used to be on this side just drop. All of a sudden, all the leaves just started dropping, and I thought I'm being a really bad plant dad. I'm like, what's going on? I don't know what's going on with this plant. And as I did more research and watched some videos of it online about this plant, I learned that it's better to bottom water this plant, and then I do not miss the plant. So ever since I've been bottom watering it and giving it decent light conditions, this is under a grow light, maybe like 5 or 6 feet under a grow light. It's been doing pretty well, and it has grown a new stem right there. Let me show you a close-up. Look at this stem right here. This is all new growth here. Now, what I like about this plant is the green and white watermelon looking like leaves. I think it looks really nice. So I actually, since I thought I was about to lose this plant, I bought another Peperomia just to see if I can improve things with this Peperomia. And this one is starting to get some growth here. Now, I'm actually really surprised that these plants are growing in my apartment because at the time I'm recording this video, we're getting into winter. It's the month of December, and I'm using radiator heat, and my apartment could be on the drier side, but I'm using 3 humidifiers in my space. I have 3 grow lights, and I have a fan to make sure that the air is circulating. So I'm making sure that I'm trying to provide as best as I can living conditions for these plants, making sure that the humidity is above 45%. I would like it to be a little bit more, but that's something I'm trying to work on with my humidifiers, because I think if I can keep my house plants between 40 to 60% humidity, I think these plants will be happy. But that's kind of an ongoing journey process for me at the moment. So the next plant I wanted to share with you is the Schefflera. This plant used to be about this tall, and then all of a sudden it started to grow like maybe 3 inches, and this is all new growth here. And you can see how nice the leaves look here. The newer growth is more on the greenish yellow side, and the mature leaves are on the darker side here. And then I'll also show you another close-up in this angle here. Now look at how nice this plant looks. This feels pretty healthy. I do miss this plant in the morning. It still feels kind of waxy on this plant. Feels healthy here. So I'm really, really happy with how this plant is doing in my environment. Now, you're probably wondering, I still have these plants in my grow pots. Now, when I purchase my plants, I don't repot them right away. I try to let my plants get acclimated to my living space before I transfer them to another pot. So, and since we're getting into winter, I don't know if I want to repot these now, and I'll just wait until spring to repot these, but at least I just want to make sure that my plants acclimatize before I disrupt them from the grow pot, which they seem to be doing pretty well in at the moment. And I'm not too particular about the aesthetics of how the plant looks like in the grow pot, because I'm the only one at this moment that just takes a look at my plants. So it's fine. But the next plant I wanted to share is the Kaliesha vittata. This plant has been doing well as too. I've had probably 1, 2, 3 leaves grow on this one. Now this is getting a new leaf here, just to show you from a distance, and then I'll zoom into a close-up shot of this plant. Look at the growth here on the side. You could see this, I don't know if you can see it right there. Yeah, you can see the side angle there of this leaf is slowly gonna unroll, and then it's gonna open up eventually. But I'm really happy with this Kaliesha. I like this Kaliesha, again, just like the Peperomia stilt. It's got a nice white stripe and green combination. This is a beautiful plant here too. I just noticed in the next plant I'm about to share, this Pelea. Actually, yesterday I just noticed that there's some new growth here, and this too is actually under a grow light as well, several feet under a grow light, and I keep this plant fairly moist, and it seems to be growing pretty well. Yeah, this is a nice plant. I actually kept the tag on from the store here. I didn't take it off yet, but check this out in the plant cam. Yeah, this is new growth right over here. So, yeah, really happy with this plant. Eventually, so I guess this is the sharing plant according to what this tag says. So eventually I'm gonna do some propagations, and it would be nice to share this plant with friends and family. So, and I'm actually gonna do some propagations with this next plant here. This is probably the fastest grower in my collection. I bought this plant maybe about a month and a half ago, and it's been growing really fast. And since I've been keeping the moisture level moist on the soil, it's been sprouting up. So this is a pink polka dotted plant. I'm gonna propagate, I guess I'm gonna propagate this eventually because it's growing super fast. But if you could see, the new leaves are light green at the top here, and the mature ones are dark green down here. This has just been growing super fast. I'm actually really astonished about this plant. Again, I have this under a grow light as well too. This sits next to the Pelea and the Peperomia in the location where I have it in my apartment. But let me show you a close-up of the growth there. Look at that. That looks nice. So let's see, the next plant is the elephant bush. So what attracted me to this plant when I first purchased this, and I got this maybe about a month and a half ago as well too, locally. I got this at the plant shop in our neighborhood, and this used to be really full with a lot of these leaves, the succulent leaves. But oh, I just lost one, man. Anyways, but the old leaves have dropped. A lot of the old leaves have dropped on this plant. And as we get more into winter, I'm not sure if that's because of the season is changing, but we are getting new leaves right here. So yeah, new growth is happening with this plant. And let me show you a close-up in the camera. Maybe you can see better on the plant cam. You can see the new leaves slowly sprouting up from the sides there. So if you know more about this plant, if you could please comment below if this is normal behavior for this plant. So this is the first winter season that I'm going into and experiencing this type of behavior with this plant. So I'll try to do some research myself online, but I'm just curious if any of you have experience with this plant. That would be helpful. The next plant I wanted to share with you is my Sansevieria, the snake plant. So this plant seems to be having growth. This is actually just shot up a little bit, like maybe this much if I remember from when I first got it. But I keep this plant, I water it and then I let it get dry before I have to water it again. And I have this in a medium to low light area, but it's surprisingly still, this one seems like it's grown on me since I first got it. And I really like this plant. This was a nice starter plant when I first made my first few purchases. So that's why I got this Sansevieria plant, because this is pretty easy to take care of and almost what they say, a lot of people are saying this is almost an indestructible plant because it could be neglected and then it'll still survive. But I do take care of it. I haven't neglected it, but it seems to be doing pretty well. So this plant seems to have gotten some growth as far as height. Let's see. The other plant, this is another Kaliesha that I have. Now, this plant has three new leaves that have sprouted up since I got this plant. And when I first purchased this plant, this was the last one on the shelf in the plant shop that I was at, and it looked like what it was like rust or like a really damaged leaf. But since it was the last plant, I thought I'm gonna still purchase it anyways, and I cut the bad leaf off, and then, which was nice because then I actually got, these new leaves here that have grown on the side. So really excited about this plant. I really like this plant too because look at the stripes in this plant here. And let me show you a close-up in the plant cam. If you could see here on the side, let's see, right there. Yeah, right there, this is new growth. This leaf is about to open up any moment. And this too is under a grow light too. It's near a grow light where it's getting sufficient lighting. And I keep the moisture level moist on this plant. The next one I'd like to share with you is this ZZ plant. This one is also a nice starter plant that I got in the beginnings of when I started my collection. This is getting new growth here. I'm actually surprised because this is a little bit farther away from where I have it in the window, but it gets sufficient light. I mean, I guess it's right here. It's still pretty decent, but it has new growth. And again, lighter leaves for the new growth. Mature leaves are a little bit on the darker side, but if you can see that there in the camera, and then I'll do a close-up of the new growth that you see there. Look how beautiful that one looks. This one I did repot, and it seems to be, I repotted it, and it's doing really well. And this is another plant that has gotten growth. This is my aglaonema. The reason why I purchased this plant because I saw some videos and saw some articles online that this was a plant that was researched and tested by NASA as one of the most powerful plants for cleaning air. So that's why I got this aglaonema, which is also known as a Chinese evergreen plant. But when I first got it, it was really healthy. I brought it home, and then I don't know if I didn't water it enough, but then again, one of these bulbs eventually shriveled up, and then it just died, and then I cut it off, and then I got new growth again from these leaves. So I was able to get this plant back up to good health once I made sure that I was watering it properly. One thing I don't mist this plant because I learned that this plant does not like misting, but as you can see, there's some new leaves here, and then there's like a bulb over here, and I'll show you a close-up as well of this plant. Look at the new bulb that's like growing right there. Look at that in the aglaonema. That's beautiful. So I'm really happy with this plant. Again, the pink and the green color leaves is really beautiful. This is seems to be a nice starter plant as well too, that I got for my collection. So the final plant that I wanted to share with you, one of the star plants in my collection, is this Birds of Paradise. So I'm really happy with this. It's been a little bit tricky. It seems like the leaves are starting to curl. I lost one leaf, but we actually have a new growth happening right here. And then all of a sudden when it's ready, I guess it's going to open. This is the first time I'm actually experiencing this with this plant since this was probably, I feel that this plant may have been a little bit above my skill level to purchase as a new plant parent, but I took the risk and just decided to make sure I'll try my best to provide it the best living conditions for this plant to see if it would succeed in my space. So I know this requires a lot of light, so I do have this on the near the south and the east facing window where it will get a lot of light. And then I also have a grow light specifically just for this plant alone, and this plant has its own humidifier next to the plant. So I might be a little bit excessive about creating the conditions, but I really want this plant to succeed in my space. So I tried to set up the living conditions to be the environment. I tried to set up the environment to be as good as possible. Not quite going to be tropical in my apartment, but just enough in order for it to produce new leaves and survive. So as I continue to make more videos, I'll try to share more updates about this Birds of Paradise, but I think that's what's contributing to the success so far of this plant, of having a new leaf pop up here, is I have its dedicated grow light in its near window, and then making sure I'm not overwatering and just making sure the moisture level is right in this plant. So there you have it. That's my progress update for the first few months of plant parenthood. I'm really excited about this because I haven't killed any plants yet. But in closing, I just wanted to summarize the conditions that I've been creating in my environment are making sure I have sufficient light, making sure the humidity levels are above 40% in my apartment, and making sure that I'm monitoring the moisture levels in the soil to make sure I water my plants at the right time, at the time they need to drink. So I think those are the factors that have been contributing to the success of my plants. I would love to learn from you about how you're getting growth with your plants, especially during the winter time. If you'd like to continue the conversation below, feel free to comment in the comment box, and then we can have a conversation in the comments. But thank you for following along in the journey, and see you in the next video.